and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove and I'm joined by a man who always wears the correctly coloured undergarments. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Checking. Yep, I'm good.
Do they match?
Yep.
Miguel Herrera would be pleased? Jealous?
Angry? I don't know. All of those things I think he would be.
So either we're talking about nonsense that you don't understand, or you already know we are here to talk CONCACAF Champions League semi-finals. Or maybe both.
Might be the first time we've ever alluded to my underwear, so thank you for that. That's a record broken.
Maybe some Mac Weldon ads back in the day.
Oh, that could be.
Yeah.
That could be. Seems like it's a good tie-in, but oh well.
So today's show, we're going to talk about Toronto's 3-1 first leg semi-final win over Club America.
We are.
We're going to talk about New York Red Bulls' 1-0 loss away to Chivas de Guadalajara.
We are indeed.
Also in the semi-final. Later in today's show, we're going to talk Copa America 2019 and a bit of news that Grant Wahl has recently confirmed for us. Us being the soccer-consuming public.
Indeed.
Shall we start with that Toronto game?
Let's do.
So this was Tuesday night. They won 3-1 at home against Club America. It feels good. It feels good.
No era penal? Can we start there?
Yes, we can. All right, so I think what 9 minutes in, Giovinco wins a penalty, scores a penalty. I said penal. We're watching it Univision. To put as Edson Alvarez definitely takes down Giovinco. As I understand it, this incident was so controversial. This is what kicked off the whole fight in the tunnel at halftime.
Because they went up to Giovinco.
They confronted Giovinco, and you saw Edson Alvarez, youngish, Mexican, I think he's 20 or so, Mexican defender, national team player, was really angry, really convinced that Giovinco has dived. I see him being Alvarez literally lay both feet out in front of Giovinco and sort of trip him over.
I do feel like this is an instance in which Edson Alvarez's frustration has actually sort of done him a disservice, because if the only thing I would say is he definitely clips Giovinco both of his feet, but Giovinco touches the ball as he's getting clipped, and Alvarez does make contact with it. So if you were going to argue, no, but I got ball and then contact occurred, maybe there's an argument there. But he never is pointing at the ball. He's never saying, I got ball. He's always just saying, he went over too easy. It was a dive. There was no contact.
Like he's trying to make too strong a case of it being a dive. Right?
Yeah, as opposed to
he should be just downplaying his own tackle as opposed to blaming it all on Giovinco.
Yeah.
Does that seem fair?
And I know that sounds silly, but you'll see that at times. You'll see a player make a tackle and then point at the ball as it rolls away. And and even if they're wrong, there's still that argument of no, I got ball, versus, I made no contact, when the replay very clearly shows there was contact.
And I would call this from Alvarez the non-dangerous kind of two-footed tackle, which is just the not very smart, clumsy two-footed tackle. He just lay both feet out in front of a very talented player who's trying to dribble around you.
I mean, it's in the 8th minute is either when the penalty scored or when the infraction
scored in the
occurs.
9th. So.
There you go. And I would guess that
in fact, it was 7 minutes and 4 seconds is when the tackle happens, because you predicted it while we were watching.
I did. Well, with some in retrospect.
Oh, yeah. 24 hours after the game happened. Yeah.
Which is a weird way to put it. But yeah, anyway. I think if I were guessing, though, it's basically that Alvarez had Giovinco in front of him. Giovinco is a known entity around the world, I would say. And I think maybe it's a high-pressure game. He doesn't want to make a mistake, and he goes in kind of clumsy. And so I think that was also part of his consternation was, oh, no, inside 10 minutes, I have conceded a penalty.
Yep.
I need to find a way to make this not my fault.
And if we are to believe Miguel Herrera's sort of take on this, is it that the Club America players are rattled by being told by the Costa Rican referee before the game that they had to change their undergarments to the correct colours?
Except that I think we're actually reporting the outdated news, because I think where this came from was Max Bretos talking about that, and I think Herculez Gomez corrected his translation to say that it was their under armour, not their underwear, not their shorts, but their long sleeve shirts, I think.
But it's still a thing you're wearing. That's why you'll notice I very deliberately said undergarments, because that's still a thing that's annoying that you have to change before the game, right? You get ready, you're dressed. I know if someone told me I had to wear a different thing a few minutes before kickoff, even in my amateur league games, I'm not happy about it. You know what I'm saying? So it's still, just because it's not your underoos, it's still frustrating and puts you off a little bit to have to change something.
Yeah, but that's your fault, is the difference there. Bobby Boswell tweeted back about this, so did Taylor Twellman, that this is a thing. Your undergarments have to match the predominant color of your uniform.
Yeah.
You can't wear, I'm assuming they were wearing bright yellow underneath, which is not the dominant jersey they were wearing. They were wearing dark blue. And so I'm assuming that's where it came from. And so it is sort of, yes, maybe it threw them off, but
You can prepare for it, right?
It's no different to me than if you and I are playing on our amateur level and we know we're playing a team that wears red and we wear red jerseys anyway, and we're like, well, we'll see what happens. And then they make us change, and then we complain that, like, but we were used to wearing red.
We complain that we had to wear pennies for that game.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is probably what would happen, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. So I
or we had to wear some other team's jerseys that they just played in and play in someone else's sweat.
And so I think at the end of the day, this feels like it's Miguel Herrera maybe trying to come up with some explanations for why his team didn't look as sharp as maybe they should have or were perceived to have looked.
I think that's fair. All right, quickly to the halftime incident. Again, Herrera has said that the Toronto police assaulted his players, but Toronto police say no charges were filed. Yep. Nothing has been reported.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the official police approach to it, is to say, we're not going to comment on this because it's an ongoing whatever, not an investigation, but we're not going to comment. If it's going to be an investigation, once charges are filed, we'll let you know. No charges, no complaint were filed. So nothing comes of it, I guess, other than some question as to who did what and what was done by whom.
We can't break this down. We don't have the video. At least I haven't seen the video. But it does sound from all the reports that sort of Club America players confronted Giovinco, turned into a scuffle. Toronto police broke it up. And that's sort of it, right? That's all there is to it.
I think so. I mean, I think the only wrinkle here is that there was the drama last season with Toronto and New York.
Yes.
And maybe there is
that was at Toronto as well,
it
right?
was.
So there's something about that Toronto tunnel.
Maybe.
Is it all red? Maybe just people get I think regified in there?
I think if we recall from that, we haven't really talked about this, but there's that shared hallway and then they split and they go to either end. So you do kind of occupy the same space briefly.
Isn't that true of all tunnels though?
Yeah, and that said, last season I think it did end up being, I forget which team went after the other, but they pursued the other team down. I think it was New York pursued Toronto. I think it's
still up for debate.
Yeah, but I remember Greg Vanney being like, why are you here? You shouldn't be here. I feel like it's a thing I remember him screaming in a very high-pitched voice. So it does feel like maybe it was, in this instance, just based on what we know, that maybe it was America players having a word with Giovinco, and then some other folks jumped in, and then things escalated.
All right, well, let's not speculate because we haven't seen it, but what we have seen is Club America's equalising goal from Ibargüen, and I think... one, it is a nice mazy dribble that he goes on, a bit of a slalom through the middle of Toronto. But if you are in the I don't like Michael Bradley club, this is some sort of treasured video that you're going to be able to have to demonstrate why you don't like Michael Bradley.
It makes the low light real.
He has 2 or 3 chances to stop this play and sort of misses them all. Alongside sort of Drew Moore and Marky Delgado as well.
I think you're right with 3 because it's essentially, I think it's TFC losing possession, America on a sort of half break.
Yeah.
And I guess it is to Michael Bradley's credit that he tries to close down Uribe because I don't think anybody else from Toronto was going to.
So this is number 8. He's on a bit of a break, right? And Bradley's running him down.
And I don't know, I guess if you wanted to defend Bradley, you could say that his goal was to slow down the counterattack. And so by pursuing him aggressively and forcing him to maybe change direction a little bit, that is doing his job. But I would then say that if you're overrunning that play and kind of taking yourself out so that you then have to try to sprint again to overcorrect, you're kind of constantly overcorrecting, and it leads to, in this case, a goal.
And it's not like Uribe did something amazing to fool Michael Bradley, right? It was just a gentle cut inside and play the ball into the middle. But he definitely should have done better here.
Yeah. I mean, because you can, if you're the person on the ball, you can feel that pressure coming, but you can also recognize that, this is an over pursuit. I'm just going to slow down a little bit and maybe he'll go right past, and that's kind of what happens.
Okay.
And that was part 1.
Yeah, that's part 1.
Then Uribe passes to Ibargüen, as you mentioned.
I think he passes to someone else first who lays it off to Ibargüen, and then Bradley sort of catches up to that, gets back in the middle to catch up to that. Drew Moore's there, Marky Delgado's there, and again has another couple of half tackles at it, never fully goes into him. I want to say that maybe there's too many people there. It's because it's more Delgado, Bradley. No one fully knows who's going to properly tackle this guy, and Ibargüen just keeps slaloming until he's away from all of them. Yeah,
it's a little of the Messi thing that we've talked about, where nobody really wants to commit to tackling Messi because there's that fear that if you overcommit, I think it's the Gegenpress idea of if you overcommit, then you've taken yourself out of the equation.
Yeah.
But so everybody kind of stands off a little bit, and they do a little bit of that, half challenge. And I think part of it is also that you don't want to concede a foul in that area, but maybe with the way things went, a foul would have been ideal.
It would have been better than a goal.
Yeah, I think so.
So Ibargüen equalises it up 1-1.
He does, and you were correct. Uribe Peralta was the one that was the link up there.
Oh, how did I forget Uribe Peralta?
Lots of other stuff was happening.
Did you secretly look that up?
Oh, I have it in front of me, the lineup. So, yes, I had then the statistics saying that he was the assist getter.
But it's all okay, right? So, and that really was, from what else we saw from Bradley, there were a couple of other mistakes, but he did seem to be that sort of holding number 6 type midfielder in Toronto's 3-5-2, who mostly held it down in the middle for Toronto. And there's always the stuff that you can be frustrated with Bradley about, but he's still more useful than not.
I think a part of it was also from what I read about this game was that it seems like a fundamental point of Miguel Herrera's approach to this was we're going to put Michael Bradley under pressure constantly
because he's the pivot that everything goes through,
and that will break down Toronto. And I think maybe it worked at times, but once you start to figure that out, Bradley plays a little bit faster, or maybe you don't play the ball through him. And it sounds like maybe they didn't really adjust their game plan after that. So it was still like, we'll step to Bradley aggressively. Okay, but the ball's 20 yards down the field. That doesn't necessarily work. And so Herrera, as a result, has come in for a decent amount of criticism after this one.
They're louse. So even though sort of that equalising goal doesn't look good, worth noting, Toronto win 3-1 at home. And second goal comes from Josie Altidore.
Sure does.
Third goal comes from, it's wing back to wing back, right? It's Ashton Morgan finishing from Auro's cross.
Yep.
Can we talk about the Altidore goal first, maybe?
Sure.
I believe there is a very nice deflection that he gets off of Vargas when he scores.
Oh, I didn't know which one you were talking about because it kind of starts, it is a semi-counterattack, semi-break, but it's basically a tackle. I can't tell if it's Delgado doing the tackling or Delgado being tackled, but either way, the ball goes up in the air.
Either way, Delgado comes out on top.
He does.
And worth noting, Marky Delgado is the guy that played for...
Well, yeah, I was going to say it comes out on top, albeit while laying on the ground. But yes,
it works for Toronto. Marky Delgado played for the US men's national team recently. He's really a player worth paying attention to if you're thinking of the future of the US midfield. Yeah,
but in this situation, 50-50 ball pops loose, but it pops loose right in the path of Giovinco. Giovinco with
good guy for it to pop into.
Very nice one-touch pass into the path of Josie Altidore. And then there's that, generous deflection.
So Josie gets a little bit lucky. Yeah. But, I mean, it's the danger of Josie Altidore that at least sort of makes Vargas panic. And Altidore gets the shot, gets the deflection. 2-1 Toronto Football Club, as I believe they're called.
Yep. And then that was to end the first half.
Yep.
Second half, 58th minute. As you said, Ashton Morgan gives them that 3-goal lead.
After a very nice...
Third goal, 2-goal lead.
So I said wing back to wing back. I think it's Delgado, again, who takes is it 2 touches maybe to just shift that ball outright to the overlapping Auro, who then fires it in, I believe looking for Altidore. But then Ashton Morgan charges in at the far post to make it 3-1.
But it's still good play to swing from left to right and back into the middle. And I think the key part there would be Delgado settling with one touch and laying it off with another, but doing so in kind of a fluid movement to make sure that ball stays moving and doesn't get tackled at the box or dispossessed or anything like that.
Smoother and smoother is that Marky Delgado every time we see him. So 3-1 to Toronto. Club America have that away goal. Next Tuesday, Club America Azteca. Toronto go to Azteca. I know Toronto are Canadian, but they've got Bradley, they've got Altidore, they've got Delgado, some other Americans
I think that's
too.
A big step off. I think it's Bradley and Altidore will be the ones that the fans will know the most.
But I'm saying, no, I'm not talking about the crowd at Club. That's a good point, though, the crowd at the Azteca. I'm more thinking about sort of US men's national team rooting interest. It's worth seeing how these guys perform at the Azteca, right? So what, a 2-goal lead, but with an away goal against you, that's a really good but precarious situation.
Yeah, and
that is the most dangerous lead in soccer. 2 goals and an away goal against you.
That is there may be 1 away goal and 1 goal lead.
I know.
But again, from what I read, one of Miguel Herrera's strong suits this season and in seasons past has been sort of
he has no strong suits. I've seen his wardrobe.
Creating the fortress mentality a little bit, and this idea of we're aggrieved, we've been assaulted by Canadian police, we were forced to change by the referees weren't fair.
So this is part of the build up to the second leg,
and I think
all that stuff.
And I would imagine then that plays into it with Giovinco. So I bet you hear a lot of boos for Giovinco, at least in the beginning of that game for the perceived dive or going down too easily, what have you.
I think that's fair. All right, so we'll definitely be paying attention to that game. So. Big semi-final second leg for Toronto. Team in a worse position is the New York Red Bulls. They went to Chivas de Guadalajara, that big, nice new stadium, and they lost 1-0. And Aurelian Colin was sent off.
Yes.
And, hate to say it, but Tyler Adams, Total Soccer Show favourite, made the mistake for the Chivas goal, right? There's no way to spin this nicely.
No, not at all. It's from a New York set piece, and they have everybody forward. And again, I don't always agree with you about the idea of sending all of your center backs forward to get involved on set pieces. This one, a free kick, not a corner. I don't always agree with you. Here I do, because not only did they send everybody forward, they sent everybody forward. If you watch it, Tyler Adams is their deepest player, and when that ball is served in, he is maybe 40 yards from goal, if not even closer.
He's in the attacking half and he's beyond the centre circle.
Oh, yeah.
He has to sprint back to receive that ball at the halfway line from Murillo, right?
And so I think when that's it, right, is that like if you're going to keep somebody smaller, faster back and just kind of count on them to like and technical as well, that if the ball's cleared, he can settle the play quickly. I guess that makes sense. But again, if he's then having
until you see this footage,
but also if he's having to backpedal to get himself into a spot to receive that ball, then he's not receiving it with forward momentum. He's having to sort of collect himself, then reappraise the field, evaluate where everybody is, and try to make a play. And I think in doing that, he doesn't play as quickly as he otherwise might have.
Yep.
So he takes a few too many touches and ends up making a very bad pass.
What he's so he could have played it first time to Kamal Lawrence, I believe, left back. He maybe could have played it first time to Davies to begin with.
I think that was the obvious one. Yeah,
and that's either of those, right?
And I think that's what they were looking for, because then it's like Davis had a very clear pass out wide, and then New York can counter down that right wing pretty quickly.
But Adams instead tries to sort of like cut. I can't remember who's defending him. Is it Pizarro? Yeah, he tries to like cut inside and then play it outside.
Oh, it's Isaac Brizuela is the one who does the initial pressuring, and then Rodolfo Pizarro bodies off Sean Davis to eventually win the pass.
That's it. Yeah, Adams tries to like shift one way and play like a tricky pass back across, and Davis can't get there. So Pizarro gets there instead. Then they're on the break, and it's Adams against two players for a good 5-10 seconds.
Which is not ideal. And I think part of it is that Davis at that point is looking at Murillo to see Murillo as the right wing back, right back.
Right wing back.
What have you, depending on whichever formation you believe.
Well, the one where you look at the screen with your eyes, he was a wing back.
Yes, and then everybody else's, he was a right back. It was very strange.
Maybe it's because they finished in a back four. That may be why we're seeing that lineup. Because later on, when Colin is sent off, you see Jesse Marsch put up four fingers.
You do. But that actually should be the indicator, because it's not like then they like scratch out Aurelian Colin or something like that.
That's true.
So that he indicates go to a back four means they were not previously in a back four.
Sorry, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Point, Daryl.
Yeah.
But I think what's happening there is Davis is looking at Murillo to see, that pass is still on if he plays it to me now. And then I think by the time he looks back, Tyler Adams has played that ball.
So is it fair to say that Tyler Adams has just basically tried to be too clever and tried to play too intricate of a pass when there's too much danger on? And this is maybe the inexperience of talented, confident players, and that sometimes you can try to do too much in the wrong spot.
Honestly, I think that's a generous interpretation. I think the less generous one would be that he took a bad touch and then tried to make up for it by being clever. And in reality, if he had played that one time or settled and then passed it immediately to Davis, then they're away and it's not a problem.
He's the Leroy Sané of this game, right? Going back to that Man City-Liverpool game.
Yeah.
So he's on the chase back. I think he actually takes a decent angle to try and slow it all down, but it ends with a Chivas de Guadalajara goal, 1-0 to the Goats.
It's Brizuela who did the initial pressuring. He ends up receiving that pass from Pizarro. He puts it in the back of the net, and there's your goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing that happens here is Aurelian Colin gets himself sent off for 2 yellows, right? One in the first half, one in the second half. From memory, it's an elbow in the keeper's face, and then it's a clumsy tackle on my notes now. I've had to go to my notes on Carlos Cisneros. Both would deserve yellow cards. He really can have no argument. This is not Aurelian Colin getting CONCACAF'd. This is Aurelian Colin making two bad fouls. Yeah. Two yellow card-worthy reckless fouls, getting sent off.
And not trying to be pedantic, but Red Bulls fans, yes, it might have been like the keeper's neck rather than his face. Even so, it's still like an elbow to the neck face. You shouldn't do that.
Elbows up.
And then the second one, I mean, we kind of saw it coming. Again, we hadn't seen the footage like live. We just knew that there was a red card or a second yellow. So we were watching. We were like, that guy's dribbling real fast. There's about to be. Yep, there it was. And there was just like a red bald blur went flying across, and suddenly people were laying on the ground.
A red bald blur, and then Alan Pulido, I believe it was, who goes down. I said Cisnero, I got it wrong. It's Cisnero who possibly had the handball. That's why he's in my notes. Yeah, we maybe talk about that later.
Sure.
But yeah, it's Alan Pulido that Aurelian Colin takes down. Did you call him a red bold blur?
Yeah.
A red bold Fowley blur.
Oh boy. But I think that one, as you said, like those are two correct decisions in my opinion. One of those was reckless and careless. One of those was reckless and maybe slightly a professional foul on top of it, and maybe a little bit overly aggressive. Both of those are justified yellow cards. I think where Red Bulls fans can maybe feel a little bit aggrieved is, I do think there was maybe a handball, and then I do think maybe there should have been a red card.
Yes.
If not a second yellow, then a straight red for Chivas as well.
So should we talk about the sort of scrum and chokehold that happened at the end?
Yeah.
So it's Tyler Adams actually getting himself out of trouble with the ball and accelerating away from Guadalajara defenders. And getting his arm pulled back.
Yeah,
right?
it's Pizarro again.
Pizarro
it's
again.
That pressure, yeah.
Grabs him by the arm and does not let go. It's like they're in some sort of movie and Tyler Adams is dangling off a cliff and Pizarro's doing him a favor and holding on to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you're not wrong, but it's like, it's especially strange because I think the referee... I think he's trying to play advantage in case Tyler Adams escapes.
Because he wriggles free.
But Pizarro is not letting go. And then even after the whistle is blown, he keeps holding on and he keeps pulling on Tyler Adams' arm. And that's I'm assuming painful, because if you're running at full speed, it doesn't feel good to have your arm jerked behind you.
One arm is longer than the other now.
And also, just annoying. Like, you made a good play, or maybe on a breakaway, to suddenly be yanked back is not ideal.
Such an obvious, annoying foul as well. And doesn't Adams react? He turns and pushes Pizarro. I thought he was lucky not to get any sort of card himself.
Yeah, I think the referee at that point recognized, I probably should have blown the whistle a minute ago. And it's a massive amount of embellishment with Pizarro, and I genuinely think that doesn't help either, because Adams turns and he kind of shoves him in the ribs, in the back ribs, sort of, because Pizarro's walking away, and Pizarro goes down like he's been shot. And I think that's part of it, is that the referee's like, I saw him touch you. Maybe it would have been a booking if you'd stayed up and just been like, hey man, calm down.
Yeah.
But to sell it like that, I think the referee was thinking, oh, okay, well, I'll see what's happening here. I'm just going to make sure there's no fighting between these two. Meanwhile, there was fighting right behind him.
There was a gigantic scrap, right? Well, I mean, actually, no punches were thrown, but somewhere in there, Cisneros' hand? No, sorry.
Pereira,
excuse me. Pereira, who already had a yellow from earlier on. Cisneros had the handball, that's what I'm thinking of. Pereira, who already had a yellow from earlier on, puts his hand around the throat, around the throat of Davis. Okay, so first time we think, all right, maybe the ref hasn't seen this, that's why he takes no action. Because you see afterwards, Robles is coming over and, gesturing, showing the ref what happened, and the ref seems to keep... He's Panamanian ref, right?
He does hand to the face, no, don't. Yeah. I'm not calling it. Don't say anything else.
You never see him debate it with them or even acknowledge that it happened. He seems to be just refusing to acknowledge that this thing had happened, right? So we replayed it very slowly and watched when Pereira's hand go around the throat of Davis. Where is the ref looking? He's looking directly at it for about 70% of the incident.
Yeah,
he definitely 100% sees it.
Yep, I mean he absolutely does, and I really do. I'm not a Red Bulls fan. I have no rooting interest here. It genuinely feels to me like he just did not want to send Pereira off.
Yep.
Maybe he thought that could lead to more chaos, but that is not the way you police a game.
Do you think that's what? So yeah, I'm not willing to say this is some weird CONCACAF anti-Red Bulls thing. This is just a referee trying to. Because this is the 80-something minute, right? He's trying to not let this game boil over into an all-out sort of disaster where people are really, really, really mad, right?
I guess so, but that's not how you do it.
Back down.
But you don't calm it back down by not disciplining a person who just chokes somebody. That's not how you established your dominance. You make them go change their Under Armour. That's what you have to do, obviously. I just think it's a strange decision, and I know some referees will do that when there's a scrum, everybody's pushing and shoving. You're not going to give out 7 cards to everybody who seem to be making contact, and maybe that factors into it.
It's
he's
turning
thinking,
the temperature up.
Yeah, and he also might just be thinking, oh yeah, I saw that, but he probably said something, or he shoved him, or maybe somebody else shoved him.
So he thinks just no cards are better because it just everyone gets a clean slate. Basically.
I mean, I guess that's how he would justify it. I still think it's a very poor decision. The handball, we can say briefly.
Yeah, let's touch on that because I keep blaming Carlos Cisneros for all kinds of things, but he was the guy that handballed it in the box.
But just to finish, I would say that one is a bit more debatable. This one, I think, is definitely, if not a straight red, then it's a second yellow for sure. And I think that is where Red Bulls fans should definitely feel aggrieved, especially because Pereira was the captain for Chivas. So that would definitely factor into the second leg.
He's a tough-looking dude, right? Every time I saw him sort of clattering players, he looked like that kind of centre-back who will happily wreck you for an entire game, and he must be a nightmare to play against.
And actually, he must be. And again, I'm breaking down body language here, but he after the hands to the throat incident, he then continues to pursue, I think it's Tim Parker, and does like a finger in the face, like, no.
Which is brave.
Like,
Tim Parker's a big dude.
But again, I wonder if he is sort of selling it as like, you can't do that to me, you can't do that to me, making it seem as though someone has done something to him. Because we watched it, no one does anything to him. Sean Davis is talking, like kind of staring at a Chivas player. There's been a little bit of like a slight shoving, but they're just looking at each other, and then in come the two hands.
This is Pereira's attempt to break up a fight. It was to grab Davis in a chokehold.
But I'm wondering if he was trying to sell this idea of like, oh, I was fouled, so I was retaliating. Like, you can't foul me, and the referee heard like, you can't foul me, finger in the face, and thought like, oh, okay, something must have happened.
Hence
to him.
the sort of total of no cards for anybody. Let's wipe this clean and go on.
Mm-hmm.
All right, final incident I want to talk about is Carlos Cisneros. I've been getting there.
You sure it's him?
I'm sure it's him, but I'm actually not sure if it's Moyle or Roya who sort of chips the ball up and it hits Cisneros on the arm. That's how I'm going to categorize this, because I think this is not a penalty kick. Red Bull fans won't like this because of the distance between where the ball was and where Cisneros' arm was. His arm was out, he's gaining an advantage, all that stuff that would make it a penalty kick. But I think he has no time to remove his arm from the situation because it happens so quickly.
Yeah. I would say the only thing that like makes it damning is that in the slow-mo, the super slow-mo replay, you do see him like...
He seems to have more time?
Well, he adjusts a little bit. Like, you can see the arm move up. Yeah. And I think that is like a natural like physics aspect of things.
It's his body motion.
But it looks... when you do the slow-mo, when you like stop it and then you play it and then the hand goes up, it makes it look like an intentional decision. And I think that probably factors into it. On super slow-mo replay, it definitely looks like, oh, he adjusted, when in reality I think it's just the mechanics of his body.
All right. I vote VAR in the CONCACAF Champions League.
I'm not sure that would have helped, but sure, why not?
It would make it extra dramatic.
Yeah, but again, I agree with you that it probably wouldn't have been a penalty for me, but I also understand why, given the other stuff we've talked about, Red Bulls fans feel frustrated with this one.
So here's the thing we can say. Anytime there's CONCACAF Champions League, there's lots of incidents to talk about.
Yep.
So a reminder, Toronto won 3-1 at home. Next Tuesday, they'll be away at the Azteca. New York Red Bulls lost 1-0 away to Chivas de Guadalajara. Next Tuesday, they will be at home at Red Bull Arena trying to turn that around. That'll be an exciting pair of second legs. I'm
just saying, Toronto, New York, and two Mexican teams, if you want to convince the world that the 2026 bid can work out, you can't be pushing and shoving like this. You guys all got to get along.
Need some unity.
Yeah. Morocco just sitting there rubbing his hands together.
We'll maybe talk more about that tomorrow.
That works.
Okay. Today's show is sponsored by Roughneck Scarves, the place to buy your soccer scarves, and longtime sponsor of the Total Soccer Show.
Is that their catchphrase or your catchphrase?
That's mine. I'm doing some free copywriting consulting for Roughneck Scarves.
I like it.
The in all caps.
The official scarf providers for US Soccer, Major League Soccer, the United Soccer League, and the NCAA. I'm not going into that one. We asked on Twitter, if you were to design a custom Roughneck scarf to represent this week's Champions League action, what would it look like?
And that was UEFA and or CONCACAF Champions League action. We got a nice mix of both.
All right, what do we get, Daryl?
Okay, I chose three that I really liked. Alfonso Martinez says if he designed a scarf, one side would have David Silva in Han Solo garb in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon shouting, "Never tell me the odds." I think that is very applicable to Man City, the second leg against Liverpool. On the other side would have Mohamed Salah dressed as Obi-Wan Kenobi shouting, "I have the high ground."
I have often heard Mohamed Salah called the Egyptian Ewan McGregor, so that works well.
Could I just say that is one of my least favourite moments of that Revenge of the Sith film.
Why is that?
Because it's just so sort of... it's laying on the symbolism too much. You know what I mean? Like, he literally has the high ground and he has the moral high ground. It's just too on the nose in a way that that's the type of thing that ruined the prequels for me.
Yeah, also,
too obvious.
Isn't it how he... There's a whole connection to Phantom Menace too, right? Because that's actually how he wins in the end. Is like he's hanging on. He doesn't have the high ground, but then he flips over Darth Maul and has the high ground. It's very strange that
I can't remember.
Like that worked out well for him the first time. I'm not sure why. Maybe Anakin knew that and thought, "Haha, I can do it too." Who knows? All I know is that the prequels are dumb. Chris Newman.
Anakin literally got burned on that.
That's true. Chris Newman, it would say Mohamed Salah's streak of good form, and the scarf would be never ending.
That is true. We haven't ever talked about, Salah's goals have dried up.
Yep.
Nope, they keep on coming.
And we never will.
All right, I've saved the most controversial till last. Are you ready?
Oh, boy.
Ben Harold has a scarf that would say, on the front it would say, CCL for CONCACAF Champions League is greater than, the mathematical symbol, UEFA Champions League. So CCL is greater than UCL. On the back, it would say, "Come at me, bro." And Ben says this is for entertainment value and unpredictability, at least. And I can't tell if he's talking about CONCACAF Champions League being better for entertainment value and unpredictability, or if he would design this scarf for entertainment value and unpredictability, because you might end up getting in some fights.
Well, that's at BL Harold on Twitter, so you can ask him yourself.
Oh, no! I think you just burned BL Harold.
I'm all right with that. But if you wanted to design your own custom scarf or get one from any of the teams or clubs that we've already mentioned, you can use the code TotalSoccerShow, all one word, all uppercase, for 20% off at roughneckscarves.com.
Worth noting, you cannot get 20% off the custom scarves. That is the price. That is the price. But if you want to buy one of the scarves from the roughneckscarves.com shop, you can use Total Soccer Show for 20% off. The profit margin is already good when you design your custom scarves, so you don't need the 20% off.
There we are. Thank you to Roughneck Scarves for sponsoring today's program. Now, should we talk... Grant Wahl announcements?
Yes. So, I mean, this is sort of a small piece of news because it had been rumoured before that the US national team had been invited to participate in Copa America 2019 in Brazil as part of what? So 10 CONMEBOL teams, 3 invitees from CONCACAF, and I think 3 from Asia was the rumour in Globo Esporte. No one had confirmed it. Grant Wahl did his journalism and managed to get a confirmation that, yes, the US has been invited to the 2019 Copa America, but they have not decided whether or not to attend.
Did he confirm that it would be 3 from North America, 3 from Asia?
I think he said just 6 invitees.
Okay.
But that matches up so closely with the Globo Esporte. It's not a rumour, right? Report at this point that seems to be accurate to me.
I wonder how long. I wonder if there is an RSVP buy date on that one, because I do think the lack.
Please respond by.
I mean, I do think the lack of some of the decisions or a lack of people in permanent positions at U.S. Soccer will probably factor into this decision being made, essentially.
I think US Soccer always takes its time with this decision, and the reason is something that Grant Wahl tweeted out as a follow-up, which is that he confirmed that if the US were to decide to send the team to the 2019 Copa America, it's the same summer as the 2019 Gold Cup, and the US would send its A team to the Gold Cup and its B team to the Copa America. People were mad online.
But why would that have anything to do with him delaying the decision?
Because I think it makes it a harder decision to do it. I think it's do we want to send our B team to the 2019 Copa America? My guess is that the US is almost always invited to the Copa America.
But do you really think that's more likely than us not having a technical director or a permanent head coach? Because I feel like that's a big part of why they wouldn't respond right away.
No, I think they always take their time deciding on this. And yeah, I mean, obviously, I think things can be two things, right? It can be both reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have technical director, we don't have general manager, we don't have a head coach. So who even makes the decision?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I guess the president, but then you're making a coach come in and be prepared for 2 tournaments next summer. That might not go so well. That might factor into why they don't end up accepting it, if they don't end up accepting it.
I mean, I hope they do, even if they have to send a B team to Copa America. But can we address that part first? Because people really were upset at this sort of confirmation that US would do what they've done in the past, which is send the A team to the Gold Cup, B team to the Copa America. There are reasons, right? It isn't a US soccer choice that, this is what we think is the best thing to do. This is a thing they have to do.
Yep. You have to send your best team to your own tournament, basically. Yeah,
it's unfortunate, but it's what happens. So we had a discussion in office, do Mexico do this?
Yep.
Because they regularly compete at Copa America and Gold Cup. Because we've remembered second-string Mexican teams competing in the Gold Cup, right?
Yep.
Turns out that's only when there's the Confederations Cup, which takes precedence. What year did we look at? 2015. 15 is when Mexico were at the Gold Cup. They won the Gold Cup, right? And they were also at the Copa America.
They did not win the Copa America.
They did not. They finished bottom of their group and they won the Gold Cup. And when you look at the two teams, it's obvious which is the A team.
It is, because you do have, with that B team, the one that went to Copa America, you do have some recognizable names in there, some of them more recognizable now. You do also have Rafa Marquez, but it is primarily...
Was Rafa Marquez there?
He was indeed.
Okay.
But I think of the entire squad, I think only 2 were playing in Europe at that point. One of them was Raul Jimenez, who I think had just missed out on maybe being in that Gold Cup roster. So you got him in there. But outside of that, it was mostly domestic players, young domestic players.
But the Gold Cup roster was, Hector Herrera, Andres Guardado. It was all the names you would expect.
You keep going. Gio and Jonathan Dos Santos.
Yes.
Chicharito was in there. He had to pull out due to injury. You've got all of your people that you would expect to be in a senior team. Miguel Layun. Chucky Lozano, I think, was on the provisional roster, and he was only, I believe, 9 years old.
Here's the question for us then.
Yeah.
If this isn't a thing you can blame US soccer for, it is the way it is that you have to send your strongest team. FIFA essentially make you send your strongest team to your home Confederation Cup, and your only option is to then send a second string team to the Copa America. Yeah. Would you still like to see the US do it, or is it sort of more hurtful than helpful to send a team that might not do so well at Copa America 2019?
I genuinely don't care about the result because I would like to see young players get an opportunity, get some cap ties in there as well. That couldn't hurt.
I'm not sure if you get capped. Oh, yeah, it's still a tournament.
It's an official FIFA tournament, so I would assume so. I think my only hesitation is what I was kind of talking about before, which is that if you have a new coach coming in, they might not want to do that because if they're trying to figure out the player pool for one tournament to then have to do two and one that's probably going to be more high pressure with a weakened team.
This coach sounds work shy.
I mean, no, I think it's the idea that, it's the world we live in that if you go manage a tournament and you finish dead last, there aren't many people really. Look at soccer Twitter. There's not going to be many people who are like, yeah, but they had a system and he's new. It's going to be like, well, we should be competing. This is terrible.
That's interesting.
And so I think if you're suddenly committed to doing two things that summer when you would rather be focusing on building the player pool, figuring out who goes where, and then trying to challenge for the Gold Cup, a tournament that the United States always challenges for, to then add on a tournament that the United States rarely challenges for and would be doing so with a B team, less desirable.
So you saying you don't need to see them do it?
I think that's why I kind of
do want to leave it to the coach.
I kind of want to know the RSVP by date because if it is by August 31st of 2018, I would expect the U.S. to have a new permanent manager by then, and then maybe that helps out, or maybe they have a new general manager and or have a general manager, and maybe that helps with the decision making a little bit too.
I say I want them to do it.
Yep.
Whomever the coach is, I would like to see the US go to Copa America, even with a B team, not least because over the past few months, we've extended the player pool, calling in guys like Andrea Novakovic. You'll have maybe guys like Josh Sargent might be available by this date. You know what I mean? I feel like there's enough depth that you can pick a team not to win Copa America, but at least that it would be everybody going would get valuable experience. Do you know what I mean? I think there's absolute value to go in, even if the results don't go wonderfully. It's not as if it would be so bad that we're going to lose 7-0 every game.
The thing is that, I think there might be... I'll say it. I think there might be a little bit of familiarity bias with what you're saying right now because you're talking about Josh Sargent, who hasn't played professionally, is still training with their U17s, your U19s, whatever. You're talking about Novakovic, who we didn't really know much about until that call, playing in the Dutch second division. I'm just saying, there is a chance that you lose every game 4-0 if you're bringing a bunch of teenagers who haven't gotten many senior minutes.
Let me put it this way then. think of how many midfielders we've got right now, and then say Michael Bradley comes back, right? You've got Bradley, central midfielders I'm thinking of. Bradley, Adams, McKennie, Acosta, Christian Roldan, Marky Delgado, Will Trapp. Those are all guys you can conceivably see playing for the US men's national team, but they don't all fit on one roster. So it seems to me that there is enough players I want to see play, players who would get valuable experience, and players who could compete that we could, using the central midfield as an example, we could send out a decent team to the Copa America 2019.
Again, I think in usual circumstances when we have a manager who's there and who is familiar, I think I'm all for it. And I still would like to see them participate. I just think I have a little bit of hesitation given the state of U.S. soccer right now.
Fair enough. Okay, so obviously this is going to be a developing story. Yeah. I hope it develops towards us going, but we shall see.
We shall see.
Beyond this, there's developing into what happens with a potential sort of combined Gold Cup, Copa America type thing. Grant Wahl did not address that. We'll see if that happens in the future. But that would solve all these problems, right?
It would.
Just combine it all together.
But then you'd still have to... but I don't know what the rules are there with, do you have to have one for your own confederation? Do you then have to combine both confederations? It would be very confusing.
Gives us plenty to talk about in future. It
sure does.
Okay, speaking of the future, I've got some Total Soccer Show Scouting Network reports here in front of me.
You sure do.
I believe you have the same. Would you like me to go first or you go first?
You can go first.
Okay, first up is... Thomas Gaffney is the scout, and he's scouting James Sands, the 17-year-old American defensive midfielder / defender for NYCFC. Thomas says, despite starter Alexander Ring missing time the last 3 matches and replacement Ebenezer Afori looking like a poor fit at that position, James Sands can't catch a scent of the pitch. He didn't even get the call when Ofori was forced off against New England, when Vieira instead, the coach, opted for defender Sebastian Ibiaka instead. Since NYCFC does not have a USL affiliate, it appears his only hope to force his way into the lineup is training. For his part, Sands doesn't seem to be in too much of a hurry, stating, "I'm only 17, I'm not rushing anything." That's what he told MLSsoccer.com. He said, "We have a very specific plan in place. As long as I follow that plan, more opportunities will come down the road. That's what I'm looking forward to." We'll check back on this in a year, though.
We will. I think I only included that just because it is a 17-year-old. Like, maybe he should be looking to get like 5 and 10 minutes here and there.
Chris Durkin is his contemporary. Chris Durkin's starting for DC United.
Well, there is that. That. All right, so move to DC United and then you'll get some minutes.
I guess the flip side of that is NYCFC are doing much better than DC United.
There is that. Grey Hair Gaming scouting Indiana Vasilev, the 17-year-old American midfielder for Aston Villa. Indiana was called into the US U18 camp and played in both friendlies against Costa Rica, scoring a goal in their first match. He has also started 3 of the last 5 for Aston Villa's U18s and has started getting the attention of local media. He was featured in the Birmingham Mail with a headline, "Who is Indiana Vasilev, Aston Villa's latest whiz kid profile?"
I know the Birmingham Mail. Yeah. Birmingham Evening Mail,
I thought that would make you happy.
James Pearson is scouting Mason Toye, the 19-year-old American forward for Minnesota United. James says Mason Toye came off the bench in Minnesota's 1-0 loss to Floplanta.
It took me a minute. Floplanta.
Flaplanta.
Yeah, it really did. I kept looking at what am I missing here? Yeah.
You got to capitalize that A, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. With Minnesota forced into chasing the game with only 10 players. In Minnesota's best chance of the match, Toye got on the end of one cross but dinged it off the post. Mason has continued to look his age as a rookie forward, and with the scientist of the North coming in, this may be the last we see of Mason until Christian Ramirez is inevitably sold in the summer window.
I did not know that Christian Ramirez was the scientist of the North. I'm assuming that's who that is, unless they're hiring an actual scientist.
Unless they're signing someone else? Darwin.
Yeah.
Darwin Quintero.
There it is, scientist of the North. We got it. Darwin, the scientist. Good job, James Pearson. Got there eventually. Daniel Jones scouting Cody Cropper, the 25-year-old American goalkeeper for the New England Revolution for now. Rumors are that Cropper may soon be released. Those same rumors suggest he could be picked up by San Jose, Portland, or Chicago.
Michael Hastings-Black is scouting Paxton Pomykal, the 18-year-old American midfielder for FC Dallas. On Tuesday, Pomykal had surgery to remove damaged tissue from the meniscus in his right knee, and he's now expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. Prior to the surgery, Pomykal had played with the Dallas U19s in the Dallas Cup and was in the matchday squad versus the Portland Timbers, but did not play. This is not the start we wanted for Paxton Pomykal.
Not so much, but we did discuss him briefly on the Top Drawer Soccer Show today.
Go subscribe.
Which should be out by the time you hear this. Hopefully, theoretically, maybe, possibly. Steven Kovac scouting Theosin Jordan Sibachou, the 21-year-old French-American forward for Stade de Reims. Sibachou, I'm going to shorten that one up, made his first appearance since suffering a high ankle sprain in late February. He played 10 minutes this past weekend and didn't seem to have any lingering issues from the injury.
Good for him. Keith Kalmbach is scouting Marcelo Palomino, the 16-year-old American winger for the Houston Dynamo. Keith says Marcelo has scored. The American Iniesta, that's what he calls Marcelo Palomino, notched a goal in Houston's U17's 4-1 drubbing of Tijuana U17s. With that said, it seems as though Paolo is currently out of contract with the Houston Dynamo, but will more than likely sign with the USL affiliate Rio Grande Valley FC.
We shall see, and we shall see if Keith keeps an eye on that one. We trust he will. Ryan Marzak scouting Pione Sisto, 23-year-old Danish attacker for Celta Vigo. Pione scored his first senior international goal. Hooray! Sisto dazzled fans with great dribbling maneuvers, and in the 69th minute, he struck for the only goal of the game to give Denmark a 1-0 victory over Panama. He started both matches over the break, so it would seem that Pione is an integral part of the Danish plan heading into Russia this summer.
Dylan Viach is scouting Kai Havertz, the 18-year-old German midfielder for Bayer Leverkusen. Kai was called up to and named captain of the German U19s for their 4-1 victory in Euro U19 qualifying. Got the assist for the game's first goal, netted a penalty in the 89th. This past weekend, he came off the bench for Leverkusen in their 0-0 draw with Augsburg. Lastly, British tabloids have been linking Havertz with a move to the Premier League, specifically with Arsenal. Don't Arsenal just keep getting linked with German youngsters and then it mostly doesn't happen?
Or French youngsters. Yeah, one or the other.
Dylan is a fan of the Gunners but doesn't want to jump to conclusions. keep that Matt hidden. Given that it's the Sun and Metro reporting the news. Yeah, not the best sources, the Sun and the Metro.
Not so much, but Matt Koss is a good source. He's scouting Lucas Toussaint, the 20-year-old French midfielder for Lyon. Lyon is still in search of a Champions League spot, but talk regarding Toussaint has turned to transfer rumors, with PSG, Inter, and Dortmund reportedly all interested, and we'll throw in Arsenal, because why not?
Lucas Toussaint. Kirsten Mladenia is scouting Breel Embolo, the 21-year-old Swiss forward for Schalke. Total Soccer Show fave, Breel Embolo. It's been a good couple of weeks for Breel Embolo, Kirsten says. He scored a goal in Switzerland's dismantling of Panama and then helped... I had a mental image of them dismantling the canal and helped Freiburg self-destruct this past weekend. Embolo drew a penalty and Freiburg's captain was so incensed by the penalty call, he got himself booked twice in quick succession for dissent, which led to Freiburg's manager also getting sent off for his complaints to the referee about the bookings. Breel also played a part in Schalke's second goal and is starting to look like his old self. It's been a long road back for Breel Embolo.
It has, but it seems like that road continues, and that's all you can ask for. Josh Buford scouting Luis Longstaff, the 17-year-old English winger for Liverpool. The best-named youngster in football, says Josh, got his debut for the Liverpool U23s in January at the tender age of 16, but since then has struggled to get minutes with both the U18s and the U23s. But he has been compared to Mesut Ozil, so there's that.
Michael Russell is scouting Christian Bielik, the 20-year-old Polish defender for Arsenal.
I love this report. Arsenal fans will not, but I thought it was hysterical.
Okay, Michael says, this season, Christian Bielik has shown he is Arsenal through and through. After shoulder surgery kept him out for most of the first half of the season and a hamstring injury during the transfer window derailed a loan move to the Championship, Bielik went on loan to Warsaw in League One. He spent the next 3 months rehabbing said hamstring and picked up a knee injury in the process. He finally had his first training session with Warsaw, but lasted all of 4 sessions before re-aggravating that hamstring. He has since been sent back to Arsenal for further rehab with a grand total of 0 matches played. Look on the bright side, Christian. If you were a horse, they would have just shot you.
Yes.
Says Michael.
That was Michael. Yeah. Ryan Marzak scouting Josh Onoma, the 20-year-old English midfielder on loan at Villa from Tottenham. Josh started the Euro U21 qualifier for England over the international break. Although England managed a 2-1 win over Ukraine, Josh Onoma received the lowest match rating for the squad. That was 5 out of 10. Despite that, he finally returned to the pitch in the championship, making a 24-minute substitute appearance. That was more playing time than he had received in all of March.
Lucky for Josh Onoma, match ratings are all made up and mostly given by people who don't properly watch the matches.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yep. James Porter is scouting Dele Alli, the 21-year-old English midfielder for Tottenham.
Jeff Carlisle's are good, though.
Jeff Carlisle are good. Yeah, because he properly watches the matches.
This is true.
Brian Sciatta's also good when he's
also true.
Yeah. James Porter is scouting Dele Alli, the 21-year-old English midfielder for Tottenham. Dele scored a brace at Stamford Bridge, I saw this, to end a 27-year winless streak and put Spurs in control of a Champions League spot. Dele showed all of his customary traits, chasing down a lost course to the corner to steal away the ball that seconds later ended up on Eriksen's boot for the game-tying goal. His outstanding touch and class finish of a long ball over from Eric Dyer put them in the lead, and a scrappy fox-in-the-box goal to seal the deal. Agreed. I saw all this happen. Enjoyed it.
I'm glad you got to read that one because I figured it would make you happy. And it seems like it has. Mike Wills, final report of the day, scouting Julian Brandt, the 21-year-old German attacker for Bayer Leverkusen. Julian has ended speculation that he'll leave for greener pastures this summer by signing a new deal with Leverkusen that will keep him at the club until 2021.
I saw a photo of him holding a jersey with 2021 on it.
That makes sense. They like that one, right?
Yeah,
did Keaton Parks do the same thing?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Yeah, they like the date. Brandt was called into Germany's recent friendlies.
Is they just European teams?
Well, actually, it occurs to me now that if you've already signed for the club, then just holding up a jersey with your number on it is like, yeah, that's just what you do, man. So I guess you got to do something to like denote that it's a special number or a special situation. Brandt was called into Germany's recent friendlies and played 30 minutes in their 1-0 loss to Brazil. While it looks like he'll get to go to Russia, says Mike, Germany's ridiculous attacking depth will make serious playing time difficult to come by.
That sounds about right. Best of luck to Julian Brandt.
Yeah.
And thank you to everybody who has sent in scouting reports. If you'd like to join the network, it's totalsoccershow.com/join. totalsoccershow.com/join. All right, that's all we've got time for on today's show. We'll be back with a Friday show of listener questions. Taylor, I know you know. I've told you already.
Indeed.
We have some great questions to answer for tomorrow's show. All that remains today is to say, Taylor Rockwell, thank you for wearing the correctly coloured undergarments and for taking the time to talk to me today.
Checking. Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, thank you for listening. You couldn't really see. We will talk to you again tomorrow.